everyone, I am Zazubar. Before we go in here on this most recent Legendary Pictures Godzilla news, I just wanted to apologize for my voice. I've been getting over a cold or something, some kind of ailment that is maybe very congested, coughing, sneezing, you know, the works of a cold. So I'm just getting over that, and it's messing around with my voice. So I apologize if I start coughing or, you know, my voice craps out. I apologize. It's not my fault. But despite being sick, I wanted to do this video because I had a free night for the first time in quite a while, and I've been trying to post videos more regularly now that I'm back from hiatus, whatever that means, and I'm trying to post videos more regularly, and I figured I'd start that, well, not start it off, but continue that as I did with my Congo review and my Any Questions 2 video, by doing another Legendary Pictures Godzilla video. And with the recent news that is extremely, well, not extremely, very big and impactful on the film, I think it'd be appropriate to do another video. Now, that being said, there has been some news that has come out when I haven't been doing videos. Just to name them off, we got a release date, May 16th, 2014, sometime in May. I talked about most of them in my Any Questions 2 video with updates, and that was one of the updates, was like the little things. Now, I recorded that video a week ago, and that was at the height of the Tommy Wiseau rumor hysteria that he was going to be in Godzilla 2014. That has proven to be a rumor that IMDb festered because someone posted that on there, and it became this huge big thing. Apparently both of the casting choices that were on that list were both jokes, so no one has been casted in the film yet, although they have ideas for them, and I'll get into that in a minute. But basically half of the news I gave you guys in that video was not true, so I apologize for that. What I'm about to share with you is confirmed by people connected to the movie, by legendary officials, so I apologize for that not helping the rumors, but, you know, I thought it was true. So, anyway, a couple things that, excuse me, a couple things that I didn't mention in that video were, one, that before Frank Darabont, who we'll be talking about later, came on to rewrite the script or just touch it up a little bit for the movie, there was another writer whose name escapes me. Someone connected to Iron Man 3, one of the writers of Iron Man 3, was doing the rewrites. And as Gorzard told me, I think he was increasing the ages on the characters. I don't know what that means, but he did some rewrites on it. And so he did a couple rewrites. I didn't do a video on him. I didn't really feel the need to. They're just rewrites. I did a whole video about Max Borenstein and David Goyer, so I feel like I covered the bulk of the script. But I did feel I should mention that we have at least now 5 people who've written this movie, counting Frank Darabont. So I just thought I should mention him since I didn't touch on him in any other videos I've done. So the release date, the Iron Man 3 writer, who else? That's really it, not counting today's news. So let's just get into the up-to-date news on what's going on with Legendary Pictures Godzilla. Some big developments have been happening, and we shall get into them now. First big thing, the movie is set 100% to start production in March, to start filming. Finally, right? I mean, we've been following this movie for close to 4 years. It's about time we've seen something concrete, that we've gotten a promise that it's actually going into production. It was just in development for so many years, and now it's finally going into development. So we're all very excited for that. The film is going to be shooting in Vancouver, which that's not a big surprise. A lot of movies with a lot of effects, a lot of CG do film in Vancouver because it's easier to build sets there. Like, I think that even partially not Smallville, excuse me, Man of Steel was filmed in Vancouver, with all the green screen stuff and all the motion capture that was used for that film. Which, by the way, that movie looks awesome, I can't wait. And Godzilla will be doing that as well, since that's obviously going to have a lot of CG in it. It's going to film up in Vancouver as well. So, not really a big surprise there, just it's nice to see that things are starting to head towards concrete. We'll have footage. Speaking of that, the one thing in my last video that was true was the trailer that's being made by someone, I don't remember his name, but there's a trailer being put together, and I think from what who told me? Adam or Gorza? Someone told me that the effects for this film were being done by the Weta team, the people who did the effects for Lord of the Rings and King Kong, which is awesome, because they do great work with CG, and I was hoping they would do it because they're one of the few companies who do CG that I'm like, that does not look like CG. So I'm glad that they're attached to the film because they use miniatures, they use models. It's gonna look awesome. I was hoping for them or ILM, but ILM is doing Pacific Rim, so that film should look okay as well. Anyway, sorry for getting off track. So there is a trailer being put together, excuse me. Now I'm assuming that trailer is going to air in front of Man of Steel. That's just my assumption. Either that or whatever else Legendary is putting out this year, but probably going to be Man of Steel just because that's like their next big thing. So I'm assuming the trailer was going to air in front of Man of Steel because that's roughly a year before the movie is set to release. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. So a trailer is being put together. We saw one image from it. I talked about it in the other video. I'm just going to say it here in case some people watching this didn't watch that video. It looks awesome. And just that one image looks really awesome. Just I'm going to talk about it a little more later when we get into the direction the film was starting to take story-wise, but it looked very gritty, very realistic, very apocalyptic, which is very nice. I'm really glad we're going to get that's the Godzilla America is going to bring to the screen. I'm very happy for that. Anyway, with all that said, I want to get into the bulk of the news now. The stuff that articles were written and news was released by officials, quotes and such. But before we do that, there's quite a few people I have to thank. First of all, just my fans. You guys are awesome. I really thank you, all of you, for being supportive of me. And I know some YouTubers get like frustrated when their fans ask them to do things. I love it. I love pleasing my fans. I love that they ask me to do things. So thank you all for that kind of support. I'm hugely into that. And you guys have been asking me to do a video about this stuff. So thank you for valuing my opinion. I value your guys' opinion. And we're all excited for Godzilla. So that's why I'm doing this for you guys out there. So I just want to thank all the people who message me when's the next LP Godzilla video going to come out. So thank you very much for that. But a few specific people come to my mind who actually sent me personal messages, Facebooked me, sent me links for articles on what exactly I should discuss. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I could not do this without you. Kudos. So, some usual suspects here with this kind of stuff. First things first, first people who sent me stuff, Nerdman Returns sent me, not links, but he sent me basically like a SparkNotes version of the news that we're going to be getting into with the Frank Darabont stuff and the direction of the story. So, thank you, Nerdman. Oh, yeah, Nerdman Returns, you're awesome. He sends me a lot of personal messages, so thank you, man, you're awesome. Then we got Tyrannosaurus King, another very avid viewer of my videos and a long-time commenter, so I really appreciate the message, and he actually sent me the link. So it was a nice little, I don't know if that was intentional, but they had a nice little duo going on there. SparkNotes, actual thing. Thanks, guys, really appreciate it. So, yeah, I got both the links there, which we're going to look at those articles in a second. And thank you very much, Tyrannosaurus King. Now on to Facebook. Well, before we get into Facebook, thanks to Gorzard, as always. The man is a machine. I mean, it takes me weeks to get these goddamn things out whenever news comes out. Like, I'm always 2 weeks late on after the news is said. It just takes me a while to get time to sit down and record. Gorzard's like, he puts it together the minute the stuff airs. So, kudos to him. Way more productive than I am, so kudos to Gorzard. He had videos up like the night of, like some of the stuff was said, so yeah, thanks for keeping the fight alive, bro. Anyway, now officially onto Facebook. Two people I want to thank. I would like to thank Chris Leotis, who always sends me Facebook messages whenever Godzilla news is released, and always very like personal Facebook messages, not just like random information. He's like, oh, hey dude, how you doing? I got some Godzilla news you might like, and he's awesome. Thanks for Facebooking me. So thanks to Chris Leotis, excuse me, and then also thanks to Austin Cummings, also sending me personalized Facebook stuff. So thank you very much, man. And he also sent me links, as well as the personalized stuff. So thank you very much. You're awesome. Thanks to Chris Leotis and Austin Cummings, and also all the people I thanked on YouTube, and, thank you to all of you guys, you rock. Okay, So now we're going to get into the actual bulk of the news here. There's quite a bit to cover. I'm not sure if this video is going to run super long. We're already at 10 minutes, so whatever. We're just going to talk about whatever the hell's here so we can just get it all out there. Alright, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is a story posted on comicbookmovie.com. Who is very up to date on their information on like source material based films, movies based on books, movies based on comics, TV shows, and of course remakes. And I think, or in reboots of course, since Godzilla is more characterized under reboot. So we have their first article here. Now, this is mainly going to focus on the story details, but before we get into that, I think I should mention that Frank Darabont is rewriting the Godzilla script. I'm not sure how the extent of the rewrites, if he's like changing the entire story. I hope not. But, well, if it's a bad story, obviously, you know, go to town. But, you know, this movie has had so many rewrites. I don't want it to run the risk of being convoluted like The Wolfman was, and amongst other films that have come out recently with a lot of rewrites that just the story ended up becoming really convoluted. I'm really hoping that that's not the case here, and that it is just you know, taking a basic premise and consistently improving it as we go on. Now, Frank Darabont, for those of you who don't know, is the creator of The Walking Dead, and that's the comics that the TV show spawned. I have not read the comics. I've seen some of the TV show. It's great. You know, it deserves all the praise it gets. I'm not going to praise it here. It's been done. But it is a great show. And I'm very happy to see that he's attached to the film. He's got a great voice for characters. He's got a great grasp of emotional depth. So, with him behind the, you know, with him now seemingly going to be the last one to touch up the script, I think we're gonna get something really good here. I'm not sure if he's a Godzilla fan or not. But with a basic premise established by, you know, both Godzilla fans and having Gareth Edwards at the helm, who proved that he had a great image for Godzilla with that Comic-Con teaser, I think that we're not going to get 98 again, like someone just taking the basic premise of a giant reptilian and running with it. You know, just let's keep it Godzilla. You know, please, that's what us fans want. Which we'll get into that a little bit actually too when we get into the story details. But Frank Darabont is touching up the script. And we kind of have a grasp of the story now that he's come onto it. Some things have been revealed. Oh, also Frank Darabont wrote The Shawshank Redemption, which is a great movie. So I don't think we have to worry here about a bad script. I just think we might have to worry about the extent of how much this is going to be Godzilla, and I'll get into why in a minute. But let's get into the story details of what's been revealed. Basically, two main things have been revealed. The first thing is that the film is going to feature more than one monster along with Godzilla. So it's going to be Godzilla and a couple of monsters. People are speculating too. I think that it could be more than that, but we'll see. And it's also been confirmed that they're going to be original monsters. They're not going to be Toho stock, which is a little disappointing, but you know, whatever. As long as they're cool, I have no problem. As long as Godzilla's in the movie, I'll go see it. You know, so we're going to have a couple of other monsters, maybe two. That's what the general consensus is, so I think it's a safe bet to say two. But they basically just more than one opponent for Godzilla, which I already kind of speculated that with the Comic-Con teaser, because there's apparently some kind of creature in that teaser who people keep, like, saying it's a different identity. I don't know. There's something else in that teaser aside from Godzilla that's dead, and obviously, if it's dead, Godzilla's already killed it, so that's kind of a spoiler, unless there's more to it than that. So, I kind of assumed with that we're going to get more than one monster that he fights, and this confirms it. So, we're going to get a couple of other monsters for Godzilla to fight. No story details on them or character details. They're just going to be other monsters, and that they're going to be originals, not Toho stock. So, I was totally fine with original monsters from the beginning. I thought it was a good idea. Again, I just hope that at some point down the line, if this gets turned into a franchise, that we'll get King Ghidorah, we'll get Mechagodzilla. You know, even just King Ghidorah, I'd be happy. You know, as the franchise moves on, I hope that Toho will be like, okay, here's King Ghidorah, here's Mechagodzilla, here's Anguirus, Rodan, all these different characters that we've come to love. But so far, originals, more than one. Cool stuff there. Good to see that, Godzilla will not be in this alone. Even though I wanted that from the beginning, but, you know, as the whole story has gone on, and the whole development has gone on, I've grown accustomed to, and a sponsor of the whole idea of having more than just him in the film. I think it's going to lead to a broader scope, to say the least. So, more than one monster for Godzilla to fight. Great. So, the second thing, story-wise, is that I think that this is mainly due to Frank Darabont coming on. I'm sure that this was part of it before it, but it seems like something he would do, given The Walking Dead. The story is going to mainly focus on a soldier, and his point of view in some kind of Godzilla-related incident. I like this for one reason, and I'm scared about this for another reason. The reason why I like this, I'm glad that the military is going to have a face. I love military characters in Godzilla films because it always gives an extra dimension to the conflict. Generally, in, you know, even Showa Godzilla films ran into a habit of this. The military is faceless. It's a bunch of tanks shooting at a giant monster. And maybe a really tight-ass general barking orders at the tanks. Showa Godzilla suffered from that a bit, though not as much as other kaiju films, like Gamera really suffered from that. Just other, you know, kind of non-franchise giant monsters had that problem. And, Heisei Godzilla sought to fix that. There's a lot of military characters in that. Millennium Godzilla as well, giving the military a face, giving the military a personality, giving the military a stake in this fight. I'm all for that. It leads to a much more developed film, a much more interesting film, rather than just faceless tanks firing at a giant monster. So I'm totally for a focused film on a soldier. This leads me to question, though, and this is the part where I'm kind of like, how big of a role is Godzilla going to play in the story? Now, there's a problem that we as Godzilla fans encounter when we say things like Godzilla is my favorite fictional character. It's that it's hard to make Godzilla the main character, the protagonist. Because you know, he's a monster. He's there. He's an embodiment of a theme. He's not really like, you can't really have a 2-hour movie with Godzilla just kind of walking around, no dialogue, no really way to get into his head. When we need to get into Godzilla's film in a movie, they usually do it by close-ups on his eyes, differences in his roar, just his face when he's looking at a certain thing. You know, they get the job done, but you can't really base a movie around that. It just wouldn't quite work right. So, you know, obviously that's where human characters come in. That's why they're there, so that way we have someone to follow to encounter this broader conflict. And I think a soldier is a great it's a great point of view to take with that. So I'm all for the soldier thing. My only problem is that I hope that it's not, because I heard one of the people who personally messaged me this info. I think it was Nerdman Returns, who said that he was worried that maybe this is bad news because maybe this will be like a Cloverfield thing, and they're just going to focus on the people and very rarely get glimpses of the monster, in this case Godzilla. I don't know if it's going to go that far. I doubt it, because Gareth Edwards has already been talking a lot about the action scenes, and Cloverfield, while being a giant monster movie and having set pieces in it and destruction, isn't really an action movie, or it doesn't really have action elements. And I'm not saying Godzilla is going to be an action movie, you know, but it's going to have action in it. Because, you know, it's monster fights and military confrontations. That's the extent of the action. Cloverfield doesn't really have that. Even in the brief shots of military fights, they're not really action pieces. They're just kind of there to show what's going on. They're not action. There's kind of them running at each other and shooting and roaring, and it's not really action. This, I would think, is not going to be like that. It's not. It doesn't sit right with me that they would take an iconic and very well-known character like Godzilla and have him be so far in the background, because that Cloverfield works because Clover is a monster that can be any monster. He's an idea. And I know I just said Godzilla is an idea as well, but it's different. Godzilla has more of a personality, more of his own personal flair. He's not just there. See, Godzilla is, unlike some giant monsters, is not just there to see how people react to him. That's part of it, that's not the whole of it. He has his own personality, he has his own stake in things. You know, see, you can't just have people reacting to him. You have scenes with him, you know, you have... I'll say it like this in terms of monster movies. You have the below buildings monster movies and the above buildings monster movies mixed in with both. Below buildings is like Cloverfield. You know, you just see from the people. Above buildings is you see the monsters above the buildings wrecking the city, and that's basically what Godzilla is in all of his films. It's both. It's above and below, primarily above. I'm hoping to get a nice mix here. That's the best Godzilla movies are good mixes, so I'm hoping that this one will be a little different. That being said, I'm just a little worried that Godzilla, you know, won't get enough screen time, or, you know, it'll be so focused on this one guy that we won't get a broader sense of this conflict. Since, again, the best Godzilla movies really get in everything they can on the broadness of the conflict. Gojira's like that. Return of Godzilla's like that. Biolante's like that. King Ghidorah's like that. 2000, you know, GMK, all the best Godzilla films with this apocalyptic theme, you know, they try to get in as much of the viewpoints as they can. You know, as much of what's going on with this struggle. I think the best two are obviously Gojira and Return, because they're the ones that are the most focused on that. Especially Return, man, that freaking meeting scene with the Prime Minister and the representatives from Russia and the US is brilliant. And, you know, I don't want this movie to miss something that interesting just because they want to focus on one guy. It's nice to have a developed character, and I hope that he is developed and likable and interesting. I want to just focus on him. I feel like he'd be missing a piece of the larger puzzle. So that's my feelings on that. So focus on a soldier. I'm for it. I just hope that they don't really I hope it doesn't become something like Cloverfield. I want above and below buildings. Let's just put it that way. The final thing, basically, really, then we'll get into casting a little bit, but, you know, not really, because it's just kind of rumors, but, well, let's get into the really last big official thing, and for this, we're going to read a quote, from comicbookmovie.com. Warner Brothers made it clear that their interpretation of the material follows the story of a soldier and is way different than the Toho Godzilla films. What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Everyone kind of stopped and glared when they said that. I know Austin didn't say anything about that, but Never Bad Returns expressed kind of like, what? In terms of that. Everyone's just kind of like, what is that supposed to mean? And I'm with you guys. It's just like, what the heck? Why would you say that? Because really, the big thing they were striving for when this movie was getting greenlit is, we're going to do Godzilla right. We're going to bring it back to the source material. And when you say something like that, of course your fans go like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? Gorzard is the only one who's kind of like, this could mean anything. And I'm with him too. Here's the thing though. Let's read it again. Way different than the Toho Godzilla films. What is that supposed to mean? What are the Toho Godzilla films? Now, back when I did that World War G chat with Adam, the second one where we talked about the Comic-Con thing, I said that this is obviously not going to be classic Godzilla. Classic Godzilla is the early Showa Godzilla. The destructive one, but it wasn't really apocalyptic. Gojira is the apocalyptic Godzilla. Early and late Heisei is the apocalyptic Godzilla. GMK is the apocalyptic Godzilla. That's what I thought we were getting. That's not classic Godzilla. That's original Godzilla. Classic is Mothra vs. Godzilla, Ghidorah, Invasion of the Astro Monster, that kind of stuff. Where it's still a little bit more. It's not super dark. It takes itself seriously, but it's not super dark. There's still room for humor. Gojira doesn't have a joke in it, so. GMK has humor in it too, but it's different. It's modern movie humor that it's there to lighten the darkness. Gojira, there's not one fucking joke in it. So that's what I thought we were getting in terms of a tone, and I was fine with that. I was behind that. Gojira is my favorite movie of all time. But saying it's different than the Toho Godzilla films leads me to be like, so what, are you guys going to go back to 98? You know, obviously they're not basing it on 98 because they've said that they don't like that movie. But are they going to go back to what Roland Emmerich set out to do, was to take the basic principle of Godzilla and then do his own thing with it? I hope not. Again, Gareth Edwards' teaser promised an original, like based on the original nuclear allegory Godzilla. That's what the quotes by Oppenheimer promised. That's what the look of Godzilla seems to be promising. Like, there hasn't been an official design yet, but fans have tried, fans like Matt Frank and other people have tried to piece together just from the brief still images from the trailer that the teaser went to Comic-Con what this thing's gonna look like. And it's not perfect in my opinion. It looks a little fat, but it still looks like Godzilla. Not my ideal Godzilla, but still I look at that and I go, yeah, that's Godzilla. So to say something like this right before the movie's gonna go into production, I go, oh, what does that mean? What is the Toho Godzilla films that you're not going to have here? Is Godzilla not going to have an atomic blast? I hope he does. What does that mean? The thing I'm thinking that it does mean is tone-wise. And again, I want the Dark Godzilla of Gojira, of Return of Godzilla, of early and late Heisei, of GMK. What I think they're getting at here is, again, playing into the stereotype that Godzilla is cheesy fun for kids most of the time, and that's, that's not accurate. Really the only series that's like that is the Showa series, and it's only half of it. So to say something like that by people who are making a Godzilla film that started out as promising, I'm getting worried. I don't want this to just be like a bunch of people who thought they knew Godzilla and then said we're going to do that like The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight created this huge bonanza of people turning characters dark and gritty and brooding. Works fine for Godzilla as long as you take the original and just kind of work with that. And all you have to do is take Gojira and make it present day. That's really all you got to do. That's a very dark movie. And I just hope that they mean this is not like classic Godzilla, where it mixed in the cheesy with the serious, turned it into something dark. Terror of Mechagodzilla is a good example of that. I hope that's what they mean. I really, really do. I want the real Godzilla to be up on American movie screens. That's all I want. And I hope that all they mean by that quote is that we're not doing classic Godzilla. And I'm fine with that. I want original. That kind of, as I've already outlined it. I just want that. I don't need the mix of the cheesy and the realistic, because I got that with the Godzilla films I love. I don't need... I think that for what this movie is trying to do, I think that it's a good approach to do it of the more realistic. And that's not... Let's face it, guys, that's not the majority of Godzilla. I mean, we love the outlandish, we embrace it, but not all people do. And I think as a starting place for a franchise, it's good to start a realistic. I think that later on we can introduce aliens, we can introduce oxygen destroyers, we can introduce all of that. But for now, I think that taking a realistic, I think taking it back, excuse me, I'm tongue-tied, taking it back to the realistic is a good move. So, for now, as long as I'm interpreting this correctly, which I really hope I am, I'm okay with that. For now, updates will follow if other news reveals otherwise. Anyway. So, I think I covered really everything that's been released. We're going on 25 minutes now, so I'm sure you guys have lives that you want to get back to. Really, there's not much else to say that comic book movie news didn't. Like, the National Ledger has an article about it. Their main tack on it is the casting, and I'll get into this briefly because it hasn't been finalized, and I don't want to be like, oh, this will be awesome if it doesn't happen. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who was in The Dark Knight Rises and Looper, he's becoming extremely mainstream, which is fine. He's a good actor. He was approached by Warner Brothers to play the lead role, I guess the soldier, in the Legendary Pictures Godzilla movie, which I would have been totally cool with that. He's a great actor. He was awesome as John Blake in Dark Knight Rises. I haven't seen him in Looper, but he's an actor that I like. He turned it down. I don't know why. I don't really, whatever. He turned it down. And their next choice is Henry Cavill. Superman, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting choice. Before I really say, oh, this would be awesome or oh, this would suck, I need to see him play Superman. I haven't seen him in anything else except what I've seen, concept-wise of Man of Steel. So once I see Man of Steel, then I'm like, oh, he's going to be awesome in Godzilla, or oh, he's not going to be good in Godzilla. But, you know, I've heard good things. He's in Game of Thrones. I've heard he's good in that. I've heard he's a good actor, so we'll see. In addition to Henry Cavill, there are a couple of other people who are being considered for the leading role of the Soldier, as he will be called from this point on that have been listed on nationalledger.com. So let's take a look at them as well. So we have Henry Cavill. We have X-Men First Class actor Caleb Landry Jones. Since it says he's the star, I guess he played Professor X in his younger years. That'd be nice. I heard some great things about him in First Class, and I've heard some great things about First Class itself. So I think that could be a good move. And then I also heard, well, I'm also reading here, since words don't speak. And then also Killing Them Softly actor. I apologize for the phone break. Anyway, so we have, as well as Henry Cavill and Caleb Landry, we also have Scott McNairy from Killing Them Softly. Now, Scott McNairy, for those of you who don't know, is also the lead in, in Monsters, which is the other Gareth Edwards monster movie, which I'm considering re-reviewing now that I have access to it. It's on Netflix for free, so I'm considering watching it again after I guess 2 years. And also, excuse me, holy shit. And also, maybe review it again, because I don't like my old review. I deleted it because I hated it. So I'm gonna re-review it as well. Maybe I'll bring on some people for that. I don't know. Anyway, so he might be in it as well. I think he should definitely be in it either as a cameo or because Kevin Smith, who I'm a big fan of, also he reuses actors a lot. Ben Affleck, Jason Mewes, all those different people who were in Clerks and Jay and Silent Bob and Chasing Amy, all his original movies. He likes to, you know, give them cameos, smaller roles, either as the same characters or just different characters in his movies. And I think that'd be a cool thing for Gareth Edwards to do as well, since he too started out as indie, just like Kevin Smith did. So I think it'd be cool if he had Scott McNairy in it somewhere, even if he doesn't play the lead. He was good in Monsters. I wouldn't be against that. So I'd be totally down with Scott McNairy either playing a lead or just having a role. I think he should have a role. Just, you know, in kind of tribute to Monsters, since they've worked together. I think it'd be nice for Gareth Edwards to have a foot in the cast in terms of that. So we'll see. So those are really the leads as far as that goes. So those are the actors that are being considered. So I think that's going to about do it for this extremely long Legendary Pictures Godzilla news update. Yeah, I think that'll about do it. So, some good news, some questionable news, but mostly good news. I think this movie's heading in a good direction. I'm worried about the rewrites because it's like I don't want it to be a convoluted story. Worried about this not being like Toho's Godzilla, but we'll see. Those can both be interpreted as different things, so we just have to wait and see. I want to see a trailer before I say that this movie is either going to be automatically going to be awesome or it's shaky. We'll see. I want to see a trailer first. But that being said, that will about do it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for your patience while I was away. And thank you all for waiting so very long for the next Legendary Pictures Godzilla update video. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys all soon. Just a quick update for my channel. Any questions to video where the questions were posted got a very good response. And if I can do it, we are definitely going to do it live. But if I can't get that technology going, it's not going to happen. But we'll see. Right now, I can't get it to work. But if I can get it to work, we're going to do it live. And times, I'll post a time when we're set for that. But anyway, so you guys can still post questions if you want for that Q&A video. Post them in the comment section of that video, which I'll post a link here. Or here. Click on it there. And, excuse me. And, you guys can post questions to me regarding Legendary Pictures Godzilla, my opinions on that, my overall opinions on, the entertainment industry, anything. Just, post questions, please. We're not quite at my goal yet. I think we have at least 15 questions so far, but that's, you know, Come on, guys. I have 500 subscribers. Let's, post the question, guys. Come on. So, anyone who watches this video, please post a question on the Q&A video. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys all soon for that video. Farewell.